Our friend Talk with Phakamile Hlubi-Majola continues here on Your View. Of course, you can send us your own views on hashtag Your View on 405. You can tweet us at JJ Tabane at Newsroom 405. Let's go back to Jahan. Horrible letter, by all accounts, explaining basically two things: interference in governance, chaos in decision making. No support from a shareholder, and just being left to dry, basically, right? Why was there no effort to retain him? The Minister of Public Enterprise on the show here a couple of weeks ago says, well, we all have to do a job. If you don't want to do a job, bye-bye, we'll just get someone else.
Well, and I think it's very disappointing that that was the attitude, because we felt that Jahana was making a lot of progress. He'd actually managed to sort of negotiate with us to sort of cease fire on the corruption cases, and because we were going back and forth to court with SAA on this issue of corruption. And he said, comrades, I hear you, I listen to you, and I'm responding. And then Vusi Pikoli was appointed to that position, risk management of SAA. And he said that this was part of his work of trying to clean up the airline. But beyond that, there were other things that we could see were happening. He shared, for example, with employees about the turnaround strategy and the details of a plan to go head-to-head or together on some type of agreement with Ethiopian Airlines. And the plan was something that our members were actually excited about, because the way he presented it, he made it seem like, you know, if everything came together, they be the most dominant airlines on the continent. I mean, the level of excitement again around such a program was palpable amongst our members, and it's not often in South Africa in particular that you get CEOs that inspire that level of confidence amongst the rank and file of workers. But this man literally opened his door and was engaging workers all the time, and we felt as if we were making progress. And when he said together we could turn around SAA, we believed him. So when we read the letter, and of course he resigned, it really did cause a lot of distress amongst our members, which is why you saw there was that massive picket that took place at SAA, because it was a major setback in our view. We felt that there was finally a turnaround strategy that made sense, that could actually make this airline viable and sustainable in the long term, but that, in our view, had been deliberately scuppered by the shareholder and the board. So, again, it brings us back to your earlier question about, was it deliberate from the beginning to collapse the airline? As NUMSA, we've been saying that that has been the case. This ANC government has consistently been talking about privatization. And in our view, the way for them to achieve this is to create the chaos so that the private sector must step in and save the day. You know?
No, but the chaos has been there for years. I mean, starting in the early 2000s, when we were talking about the hedging crisis, which was followed by horrible oil prices that just collapsed the thing, and this was the first big begging bowl, year after year after year. I'm asking the question, should we not, right, with all taken into account, look at this public-private partnership? We talked about the partnership with Ethiopian Airlines. That could be a public-public partnership, right? But at least it's still not doing the same thing. It's doing something different, and which is what I think Jahana wanted to do. Are you hostile towards getting a private equity partner who's not a majority shareholder, but having enough shareholding to bring in resources, to bring in partnerships from around the world, to look at turnaround strategies that can make this airline at least stable from a point of view of financial viability?
Will it help us if we continue with the board, which in our view endorses corruption and hides corruption? I don't think that will help us. And until we've dealt with that problem, SAA will always be in a crisis. We have a situation where, in relation to corruption, how this SAA board and management has responded is they just reshuffle executives. There's a
Why don't we take them to court and interdict the board?
You know how many court applications NUMSA has embarked on Really, we've embarked on so many court applications. Besides the one on the forensic reports, there was a court application on declaring the board delinquent. There's
Are you part of that action with Dudumi in court?
No. That one is just focusing on Tutu. Ours was the entire board. I mean, you're not going to focus on Tutu. Tutu didn't make those decisions on her own as far as we're concerned. The whole board, and we've been consistent, that the entire board is responsible for this crisis. The entire board must answer. And anyway, JJ, I mean, in any other business, when a board brings an organization to the brink of collapse twice in a space of 4 years, they must be fired. Why do these people still retain their jobs? And in our view, it's because of the fact that they are protecting certain interests, most likely interests within the governing party. These interests are not aligned with workers and the working class. You heard the finance minister speaking very recklessly, saying, collapse it, sell it, my friend Sim can buy it. Hey, man. I mean, the shock, the horror, you know. I think for me and for our members, the thing that is the most painful is to hear government ministers speaking about their jobs in this way. Their jobs, I mean, these are workers who support 5 to 6 family members because of black tax. In an economy with 38.5% unemployment. And then you've got a minister who can speak about selling SAA like he's selling a spaza shop. It's disgusting. It's disgraceful. And it's unacceptable. And unfortunately, we were forced to take the only action that we could.
Have you engaged Pravin Gordhan on a one-on-one basis to try and understand where he is going with what he is doing? Because I can't imagine that he's just sitting in a corner trying to destroy the place, right? Despite evidence that may be pointing to that with what Martin Kingston was saying, with the attitude of the board around the whole strike and so on. Have you engaged him, and what's your summary of his attitude?
We engaged him last week, Thursday, at the offices of the DPE. We actually presented a very detailed plan to him about our views in terms of things that could be done immediately to resolve the crisis at SAA. One of the things we presented was what we put into our wage agreement, which was signed on Friday, which was the establishment of a task team to look at all contracts. You see the work that they didn't do in 2015? We are now going to do it. To analyze and investigate all contracts with a view of finding ways to save money for the airline. And we did that because we have experience of this actually working at South African Airways Technical. The management there opened their books to us and said, NUMSA, show us what are some of the things, what are your ideas? And we managed, for example, to negotiate the cancellation of a contract with KWE, replaced it with insourcing, saved them 11 million. There are other contracts that we've been discussing, and they've saved so far about 52 million. I mean, sorry, 82 million. So in our view, this can be done. There is a reluctance on the side of the board and the executive management, and we told him as much. And he said to us that he actually was quite interested in this plan, and in fact, he wants us through this task team to work with his office and Treasury.
That sounds positive.
So for us, that is definitely a light at the end of the tunnel on this issue. Secondly, one of the things that we secured through the strike was what we called a training layoff scheme. It was something that the CCMA actually explained to us during the talks, and we thought, yeah, now that's going to be a great plan. Because the airline keeps talking about how it needs to retrench at least 900 workers in order to be viable. But this retrenchment layoff plan, how it works is that for companies that are in distress, for the number of workers that you need, those workers who are in danger of being retrenched participate in training at any recognized institution in the country. And for the 4 to 6 months that they participate in that training, their salaries, 75% of their salaries are paid for by the CETA and the Department of Labor. And SAA only has to pay 25% of that income plus the benefits. Now, that is very progressive. In our view, that should be more than enough to postpone retrenchments for a couple of months while you give the task team the opportunity to do the work of, saving money. The airline gets a bit of a breather in terms of salaries.
Then maybe we won't need to retrench.
And then maybe we won't need to retrench. I think that, yes, we're going to be the first to say as Labour, we don't want to depend on bailouts. We want a viable SAA. But we have to obviously work towards getting there. And we believe that particularly these two things that we've managed to negotiate into the wage agreement should be very helpful in assisting the airline to get back on its feet.
Is the issue of merging resources between SAA, Mengu, and SA Express on the table at all? Because it looks like SA Express is another black hole there that's happening.
Yeah, SA Express is definitely problematic. In many ways, it suffers from the same problems as SAA.
Yeah.
For example, the person who's running SA Express at the moment, excuse me, a gentleman called Mr. Malola Piri, who was the acting manager at SA Technical, is implicated in the open waters corruption report, specifically in relation to those GPUs that I told you about earlier in our conversation. So this is the problem that we have. As I said, they take these people, they move them from this one, and then this person emerges on the other side. And
it's Mr. Piri.
Yes, Malola Piri.
Yeah, Mr. Malola Piri.
Malola Piri.
If you are listening, come and answer, as well as your chairperson, who you have accused quite bluntly of corruption.
Look, I think we can safely say that because in our view, unfortunately, they've not demonstrated anything to counter what we've said. They've not been honest about clearing up corruption amongst the executives. We've seen them covering up for executives. Malola Piri isn't the only one. There's another one, Kukimbeki, right? That name down.
Kukimbeki.
Kukimbeki. I'm sure you want to interview her very soon.
Kukimbeki.
She's also implicated in open waters corruption reports. She was working at South African Airways Technical in the legal department. They told us, oh, no, don't worry, Kuki resigned and we'll get the monies from her. We find out months later, Kuki now works at SAA Legal. Taken from SAA Technical, now at SAA Legal. You know, so these are some of the examples.
It's crazy. Look, it seems like, as you are saying, there's a light at the end of the tunnel in terms of the task team and what it can achieve. And hopefully we'll be watching the situation, and we really wish you well there. Let's talk about other parastatals a little bit. Before we get on to Eskom, quickly, on the Mengu, quickly, are you aware of the relationship between the board of Mengu and Pravin in the same context, quickly, before we go to a break?
Well, yes, we've been advised of that, but at this point, we're not going to comment.
No comment. All right. I want to talk about Eskom after the break. I just want to know what you think of the situation at Eskom, the whole issue of dividing Eskom into three. You know, you guys have always been slightly reluctant about it, and I want to understand why. And also, do you think a new CEO is going to crack it? Let's take a break now.